the dock of the bay, I'm wasting time.
Okay, hello everyone. We're going to get started. Thank you all so much for being here for the Piedmont Action Hour. My name is Maya Guzdar, and I'm here with Sarah Sequeira, Anna Campbell, Jonathan Dinetz, Kate Broning, Nina Adarker, and we are so excited to see everyone here. We are a group of PHS alums, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what POPS is and how this got started. So our story starts about 2 weeks ago when, following the horrific murder of George Floyd, Piedmont created a Black Lives Matter protest. We all went. To be honest, we were a little bit skeptical, but we went to the protest. And at some point during the protest, momentum started to pick up, and Piedmont pushed into the intersection of Highland and Oakland. People were chanting, cheering, holding signs, things were starting to build. And then someone pointed up. They pointed up Oakland towards Seaview and said, "Piedmont, let's march." What happened next is what we think defines POPs. Someone else said no. Someone else said, "We need to march down, we need to go into Oakland," and people followed. We marched down Oakland Avenue, we turned left, we took over Grand, we merged in with other protests that were happening in Oakland, other people, black, white, brown, we all marched together. People were chanting, raising their fists, people on the sides of the sidewalk getting emotional, talking to us. It was something that I've never seen before coming from Piedmont, and I don't think Oakland has ever seen coming from Piedmont either. And that was something we reflected on after that, is what is the role of a predominantly white community in the Black Lives Matter protest? I think especially in Piedmont, we have a tendency to turn inwards, to only reflect on what we know, only talk to people that we know, and kind of stay in this so-called bubble that everyone always talks about in Piedmont. So with POPs, we want to challenge that. We want to burst this so-called metaphorical bubble, not in the stereotypical way, but in the way of acknowledging Oakland is our community too. And we give so much care to Piedmont every day. Can't we give the same care to Oakland? So that's our mission. And we decided to focus specifically on educational equity because Piedmont is a town that was basically built around our education. We found 3 amazing organizations through a lot of research, emails, and phone calls: Planting Justice, the Black Organizing Project, and the State of Black Education Oakland. They are such amazing speakers, and we're so excited for you to hear from them and their voices. But we also wanted to acknowledge that racism and these issues are within Piedmont too, and there's so much work still yet to be done in Piedmont. So you're also going to hear from 3 student speakers, Harmony Ross, Ang Lee, and Angeli Turner, on their experiences with racism in Piedmont and what we can do to be better. We are so excited for you to be here, and we want to emphasize again that this website is not just meant for donations. It's not just a one-time thing. It's something that we want to grow, and we want there to be resources available. We want to come together as a community, share things, and acknowledge our privilege and what we can do to help Oakland. So what you're going to see right now is that our website is about to launch, which is very exciting. And we cannot wait for you all to see it. So basically what this website's going to have is the ability for Piedmont to donate to these causes, and also there's going to be a leaderboard where you can see different like donations that have been made, etc. So you might have to hold on for a second as we figure out where exactly to find the website. But yeah, we're so excited for you to see it and to hear from everyone. Yeah, and that's basically what POPS is. And here is our website. Is it coming? The website is coming. Sarah just put it in the chat, and we're gonna see it in a few seconds. And again, to reiterate, we don't want this to just be another GoFundMe or another like quick moment. We really want to see this go on for months, weeks, maybe even years to come. So please consider to send this out to more people that you know. We want it to grow. We want maybe become part of Piedmont, something we contribute to every year. Yeah, and that's basically us, the POPS project. Some of the speakers you're going to be hearing from are Rashid Lockhart from Planting Justice. You're also going to hear from Nakia Manning from the Black Organizing Project. And lastly, you're going to hear from Dirk from the State of Black Education Oakland. And each organization brings a different light to the struggle for educational equity, and we think that all are very, very important. So you'll see now we have 30 seconds. then the website's going to go live. Some quick things, some quick housekeeping things are, once you donate, please put a chat, text a chat once you've donated so everyone knows. If something the speaker says really resonates with you, please chat snaps or claps so we all know that you're feeling the vibe, you're feeling good. We want to keep the momentum going, and we're going to do an official ask halfway through. So here we go. Thank you all so much for being here. It's amazing. There it is. Thank you.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming. And we are so excited to finally say that our website is officially live and ready to accept your donations. And Sarah put the link in the chat. And we're also so honored that you are all here to help us reach our goal of $15,000 within the first hour of our launch. In addition, we are so proud to announce that Mulberry's has generously offered free coffee for the month of July to thank families who donate over $1,500 to the POPS campaign. So now just some simple housekeeping. All donations tonight and for the foreseeable future are tax deductible, thanks to our fiscal sponsor, the Oakland Public Ed Fund. 10% of the proceeds of this fundraiser will go towards the Oakland Ed Fund and their efforts to lead the development of community resources in Oakland Public Schools. One last thing before we hear from the speakers, we wanted to say that if you have a question, you can type it in the Q&A box and we will address them at the end from 7 to 7:15. Without further ado, we welcome Nakia Manning, Program Coordinator at Black Organizing Project, to tell us more about the work they are doing.
Woohoo! Thank you all. Good evening to everyone who is joining us here tonight. I said we are currently at 199 participants. So yes, my name is Nakia Manning. I am a proud member of the Black Organizing Project. I am also fortunate to also serve as our program coordinator. And BOP, Black Organizing Project, also known as BOP, we were founded in 2009. We are an all-Black grassroots organization working for our racial and social justice as Black folks in Oakland, California, and throughout the Bay Area, since a lot of us are being pushed out of Oakland. Back in 2011 is actually when we started our one and only campaign. That is the BOSS campaign, which stands for Bettering Our School System. And we started this campaign, unfortunately, in response to the murder of a 20-year-old Black male. His name was Raheem Brown, and he was shot and murdered at the hands of an Oakland school police officer outside of Skyline High School. And so when we learned of his murder through community at an Oakland school board meeting, we knew immediately that we would dedicate our work to the issue of police in schools. Our response wasn't only in response to Raheem's death, but also recognizing that for Black people, we knew this could not happen, not only to us, but to any other student within the Oakland Unified School District. And so as we continue to do more research, we later found that not only did Oakland employ its own internal armed school police department, but they were also at the time contracted with OPD, the Oakland Police Department, as well as contracted with school security officers who still exist and currently are still governed under the chief of school police. And so, yes, since 2011, we are now approaching our 10th year in this campaign, where we have been pushing and fighting for the removal of school police. Just a little context in Oakland as well. Many students in Oakland, not only are they policing their schools, but many of our students and families also have police in their housing complexes. If they take public transportation, they also have to encounter police on BART. And if they're just in their neighborhood, Oakland Police Department is deployed. And so we are dealing with a hyper criminalization, a hyper police state and city in Oakland. And for BOP, we said this will change. And so since 2011, we have been dedicated to completely removing the Oakland School Police Department. And so present day, just last week, we were proud to announce a resolution that the board has taken up. And that resolution is called the George Floyd Resolution to eliminate the Oakland School Police Department. On June 24th, that is next Wednesday, this resolution will come to the board to be voted on. And so right now we are continuing to push to continue to apply pressure on our board and superintendent, and it is finally looking very promising. And so while we honor George Floyd, again, this work is not new to us. We know as Black people, the experience of police terrorism is nothing new. However, we are so hopeful, and we thank everyone who has supported us, whether you are a new supporter or, have supported us since the beginning. But we are going somewhere. And if we win, when we win, because we will win, Oakland will be the first city in this nation to eliminate their own school police department and set precedents, for what could be possible across the nation. So we are so excited, we are so exhausted, but more than ever, we are so hopeful of what police-free schools could look like, and really creating the reality of a Black sanctuary for Black students and all students here in Oakland. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for the support in advance. Thanks, Pops.
Thank you so much, Nakia, for telling us more about Black Organizing Project and the George Floyd resolution. I'm so excited to introduce our first student speaker, Harmony, a rising senior at Millennium High School.
Hello, everyone. I am Harmony Ross, a rising senior at Millennium High School and one of the student elected leaders of the Black Student Union at MHS and PHS. And I'm so thankful to be speaking to you all this evening. I will be sharing what it's like to be a part of this Piedmont community from my perspective as an African-American person. So when I was deciding what high school I wanted to attend in 8th grade, I was very clear that I had to go to some sort of private school because my public options were either Oakland Tech or Oakland High School. My father, being a graduate from Oakland High, explained to me that the quality of education wouldn't match my needs as a student. But the one thing these public schools offered me that most private schools lacked was a heaping amount of diversity. Luckily, my principal told me about Millennium High, a public school in Piedmont, California that offers great quality of education and opportunities for students from all over the Bay Area. During my freshman year at Millennium, the upperclassmen would actually warn me about the cultural differences between both of the high schools. But I honestly thought it was a cruel joke for freshmen. But during my first Piedmont class, I heard racist remarks about Black men. And when I looked at the students having the conversations, they were stunned by my friend and I, 2 Black women sitting right across from them. Little did I know, this was just one of the many offensive encounters that I would experience in high school. Now that I'm reflecting on my 3 years in PUSD schools, the one thing that being in this environment has benefited me in is the fact that I have this strong voice to stand up for myself and those like me. I can confidently go into any environment, no matter if I am the only Black person or one of few Black people. My voice is valid, important, and necessary for environments that have a lack of diversity, but also a weak will to hear the voices that exist. Now that I've gained the strength to share my experiences and opinions in this community, I would like to remind the Piedmont citizens that you do have your own Black community, and racism is still a problem in Piedmont, especially in the schools. For the parents that are raising children in Piedmont, no matter what you and their races are, you have the duty to educate them on the important issues that aren't always spoken about in school. My mother and father always took the time to educate me on what it means to be Black in America and how to navigate through this world. Please do not be afraid to have uncomfortable conversations about privilege, race, and/or wealth. Instead of calling the police on the Black man walking through your neighborhood, smile and wave at him and pray that he makes it home safely. If you feel motivated to help change the racial environment in your city, you can of course donate money, or you could use your voice and reach out to the Black Student Union, or think Am I flexing my privilege by saying this or doing this? Fear shouldn't stop you from calling each other out when inappropriate racial comments are said or privilege is being abused. And if ignorance is hindering you from making changes, educate yourself and others. Learn the value of the Black voices around you, like mine. And if you don't hear us, use your platform for our voices to be heard. There are endless ways to help and change. The POPs Project is just one of many. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you donate. And here's my reminder, use your voice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harmony. That was incredible to hear. Also, if you go to the resources tab on our website, you can find a full video done by the Black Student Union at the Piedmont High School and Millennium High School about their experiences in Piedmont. And now we will hear from Diane Williams and Rashid Lockhart from Planting Justice.
Hi everyone, how are you doing? My name is Rashid. I am with Planting Justice. I am a formerly incarcerated individual who just did 18 years of incarceration, but really has been incarcerated since I was 15. I'm 42 now. I've touched every bad and good parts of the system, and I know what it means to be impacted by the system. In 2013, while inside of San Quentin State Prison, I bumped into two individuals. One's name was Haleh Zandi, and the other one was Gavin Reeders, who are our directors of our organization. And they approached me about building a garden. I knew nothing about building a garden. I didn't actually care about building a garden, and we ended up building a garden. And from that, I now find myself a reentry coordinator and a grassroots fundraiser for an organization that primarily takes place in Alameda and Contra Costa County, but we work in all 5 counties of the San Francisco and Bay Area, and are also making efforts to collaborate with and lift up the work of other regional and national community partners. We have been working primarily with people who are incarcerated, formerly incarcerated like myself, high school youth and youth involved in the criminal justice system, indigenous groups working towards food sovereignty, immigrants who have left, who have a lifelong passion for working with plants and growing food, but experience many barriers to gaining long-term access to land and living wage employment, and with other farmers of color facing systemic barriers to owning land, getting loans, and moving through the bureaucratic systems of governance that they have been locked out of in the Bay Area. In certain parts of the Bay Area, it is a food desert, and we as an organization are attempting to just get rid of it. We're going into our urban communities, and we're teaching about sustainability and about healthier options, and teaching people that, you know, growing your own food is the right way of life, right? We're teaching people how to use gardening to build community, and teach them that, you know, by learning this skill set, they can have a greater impact in their community than going into it and trying to, I mean, let's face it, right? Food deserts are a tragedy, right? Everybody should have healthier options. Everybody should have access to food. In certain parts of West Oakland, it's like one grocery store for 70,000 people. That's a tragedy. Our organization feels that we can educate people on both ends and knock down 2 birds with 1 stone. We can take on the recidivism rates in California, and we can tackle the food desert. And in doing that, we are educators. And somebody once asked, why donate to your organization? Well, you know, we do a lot more than just garden, right? We're providing food, we're providing nourishment for underserved communities. And we're going in and we're teaching these communities how to do it themselves. So if somebody were to donate like $100 to our organization, that $100 gives us the necessary tools, equipment, and better yet, it provides a livable wage for somebody that's in reentry to be able to go into a community and help that community thrive and find its own independency. I'm blessed and fortunate to be here. I thought I was going to be doing something else with my life, but you know, I find myself now gardening, and it's a passion, and going into urban communities that need to know about this. And with that, I'll pass it to my mentor, Diane.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Diane.
Diane.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Diane.
Oh, any rate, so I work in East Oakland. I work in Sobrani Park at Planting Justice Nursery. We're the largest organic fruit, nut, and berry nursery in California. I'm the volunteer coordinator and master educator there. So I want to invite you all out to our nursery. If you've never been to the Deep East, as they say, come and visit us. Come off 98th. We're on 105th, sort of below the freeway. I'm really proud of the young people that have stepped forward to do this. You know, your grandchildren will be proud of you. Our job at Planting Justice, we're trying to help those most in need. I could work at Kaiser or here and there. It's my honor and privilege to try to help with the health disparities and to provide education and to try to empower the people of Sobrani Park and the people that I work with to improve our collective lives. Why is what I want to know. What I learned at UC Berkeley, why did it never make it out to Far East Oakland? So the people there don't have to suffer the health disparities that they do. So the Segorte Land Trust, we share land at the 2-acre nursery. Please look us up and you'll see more information about the only Indigenous women's land trust in the United States. So we feel confident that we have the ability with the land, the food that we're growing and the food that we're selling to save lives, literally, and to strengthen families. About a third of our 30-member staff are master educators. Again, we invite you to the nursery at 319 105th Avenue. And again, it's my honor to be here and talking with you. Thanks again for having us. Oh, by the way, the $100, we're going to celebrate Juneteenth tomorrow. The $100 would go for some real good food for that Juneteenth celebration. But we do have it covered. You know, we're having a small celebration considering the virus. So thank you. Thank you again.
All right, everyone. So we're at the halfway mark of our event, and I'm so excited and proud and amazed to say that we've already raised $14,000, which is like actually crazy. And thank you all so much for donating. And we want to say that, like, even though we've already raised a lot, our ultimate goal of this campaign is to raise $50,000. So don't let the fact that we've already raised a lot stop you from donating. And I guess, like, what? I guess right now I could say that now is the most important time where each of us can make a donation to these amazing organizations, some of which you have heard from and some of which you will soon, and show how truly committed Piedmont is to fighting for educational equity. If you haven't already made a contribution to our website, now would be the perfect time to take a moment and do so. And we want to acknowledge that times are hard and not everyone has the ability to donate, but we really, really want to stress that whatever you can donate will make a huge difference in the life of an Oakland Unified School District student. And there are 200 people here. If everyone donated $50, that would be so much money. And we already have so much momentum, and keep it up, guys. And you guys are doing great. And so oh yes, also, I'm really excited to announce that we have some matchers, some foundations that have decided to match. So the $7,000. So we have $7,000 pledge and match. So we could, when we're thinking about donating, we could try and think about maybe reaching another 7,000 so that money could be matched by our organizations. That's all I have. Thank you so much. And I would like to introduce our next speaker, a rising senior at Millennium High School, Ang Lee.
All right. Hi, everyone. Like Kate said, like Harmony, I'm a rising senior at Millennium High School, and I'm hoping to share a little bit about my transfer from Oakland. So nearly 3.5 years ago, I was one of the many newly promoted 8th graders with big hopes for high school. But as I'm all But as I'm sure we all know, high school is truly nothing like movies. Yet with little knowledge about what it would actually mean to attend the second largest high school in OUSD, it was easy to mold my post-middle school fantasy with a narrative similar to the movies I'd grown up watching. I wanted to go to a high school with colorful corridors, resource classrooms, a thriving extracurricular environment, and most importantly, a high school with academic opportunity. Needless to say, my expectations of public high school were far from the truth. And I made two very important revelations at my first week in Skyline High School. The first one was that if I needed something in class, raising my hand wasn't enough. There were far too many students in any of my classes for my teachers to stop and give me individual attention. For example, I was one of 50 kids in my PE class freshman year and one of 40 in my biology class. So given that most of my classes were between 40 and 50 kids per class and that classes were a little less than an hour long, this gives roughly 90 seconds of individual attention per kid per class. The second revelation I made is that if I needed something outside of class, I was kind of on my own. Textbooks were lined with mold and rendered unusable, while any and every academic instrument you could think of was practically impossible to find. On top of this, student resources were virtually non-existent, with college counselors given hundreds and hundreds of students per semester and wellness advisors being booked for months on end. However, this was hardly the tip of the iceberg. And as the months continued to fly by, it was difficult not to see the severity of how underfunded OUSD was and the extensive consequences that came as a subsequent. Many of my friends and peers had already lost faith in the public education system, and after years of attending under-resourced, neglected public schools, it was quite easy to see why. Why care when seemingly nobody else in the system did either? Eventually, I was presented with the opportunity to leave OUSD, and granted, I did. I transferred to Millennium High School halfway through my freshman year, and lo and behold, I was in a completely different world only 6 miles away from my old high school. The free and unadorned school lunches from Skyline were nothing compared to Piedmont's $7 pesto tortellini, tiramisu, and homemade chicken Caesar salads. The fully functional window blinds from Skyline felt outdated against Piedmont's remote-controlled ones. Each sparkling new copy of an English book I received felt like an insult to the students who waited in hour-long lines at Skyline only to walk away with a mold-ridden textbook. I was even stunned that every bathroom was fully stocked with toilet paper and soap, and that every single one of the toilets and sinks worked, no matter which bathroom you went to. And again, this was only a small piece of what I now know today. It's no secret that PHS boasts a demographic of nearly 70% Caucasian students, while my old high school, Skyline, was quite the opposite, with a demographic of only 7% Caucasian students. Our country's history of white supremacy, redlining, and educational discrimination has led to many situations like the relationship between OUSD and PUSD, where white students are given an exceptional education on a golden platter, while their minority counterparts next door fight tooth and nail for some of the most basic aspects of their schooling. And when you take both schools and look at them from a mile away, the smaller discrepancies fade away into bigger ones, and the bigger ones give way to huge gaps in almost every aspect of either school. Our community needs no convincing on the importance of education. I mean, that's why we're so willing to funnel and channel thousands and thousands of dollars into our school district every year. However, it's equally as important to translate that same value into less affluent and less resourced schools. And this is a feat we've been very apprehensive about doing up until now. And I'd like to close on this note. Do not think for 1 second that the kids next door are any less smart, any less talented, or any less hardworking than we are here in Piedmont, because they aren't. But we have to remember even the most gifted student stands helpless if they don't have a pencil to write with and a book to read from. Thank you, and please donate.
Thank you so much, Aang. It's really important to understand the experiences of students transitioning and the huge difference that even 6 miles can make in terms of access to resources. I just wanted to announce quickly that we are going to push our goal for the hour up to 25, so that hopefully by the end of the hour, we can be halfway to our ultimate goal of 50,000. So thank you to everyone who's donating. Keep that momentum going. We have already way surpassed our initial goals. So that's really cool to see. And next, I'd like to introduce Dirk Tillotson from the State of Black Education, Oakland.
Hi, I just want to appreciate everyone here for doing this and kind of being the change that everyone talks about wanting, but not really walking about doing. And so I just think even that walk down to Oakland was like walking the walk when I think Piedmont has talked the talk a lot about equity. So I do appreciate it. And I appreciate Nakia and you guys are just holding it down in terms of getting police out of school and planning justice. I won't say the word I would others say, but I'm gonna mess with you guys after this and come out and visit you because I really appreciate that work too. So State of Black Education in Oakland, our goal, we probably 4 or 5 years ago, we just kept talking about what's happening in Oakland. You know, Black kids aren't learning, Black people are getting pushed out. This same old, but it's just getting worse as the city gets richer. And, you know, when you look at the numbers, I came here in the 90s, late 90s, 1.9% of Black boys completed the A through G requirements in a 4-year cohort. So 2 in 100 could even apply to UC or CSU. Right now it's in the mid 30s for Black kids overall, high 20s for Black boys. But you think about those numbers and what that means for kids' futures. And that doesn't even count all the kids who already fell out of the pipeline before that. So in State of Black Education, we convene the community and we try to bring community conversations into meaningful action. And so that's like bringing folks together, talking with the NAACP, getting partners, and then really coming up, I'm a lawyer by training, with policies that we think will actually change things. So we have 4 initial policies we came out with that we're fighting for. The opportunity ticket, which basically allows kids from the lowest performing schools or closing schools to go to any school they want. So as Ang got an opportunity ticket to get out of his assigned school, that's what this would do. That already passed OUSD. We're working on charters to pass that, and we're working to expand that. Again, as someone mentioned around redlining, there's schools in Oakland in the same way Piedmont is, where there's like 6% free and reduced lunch and 80% kids on grade level. And there's schools where there's 99% free and reduced lunch and 0% kids on grade level. And those schools are like 3 or 4 miles apart. So it's not a geographic, there's not a mountain between them. The mountain is racism. And that's how it was designed, to create these enclaves where Montclair has different schools and Piedmont has different schools and the flats are different. And so part of our work is to just change that. So OUSD is doing comprehensive enrollment reform. We'll see where that takes them, but we'll be pushing on them to change that. These were not rules written by the rules of nature or God. They're rules written by people to preserve privilege and deny opportunity. And so we can change those rules. And even for Piedmont, why can't Piedmont take more kids out of Oakland if there's kids that want to go and it can serve them better? Why can't it? Second one is really Black teachers. As you saw on one of the slides, 2 statewide studies. 1 Black teacher increases the chance a Black kid will graduate by 29%. That's statewide studies by just looking at, is there a Black teacher they get in elementary school? Did they graduate or not? It's a very simple thing to do. Set goals and hiring practices around retaining, developing, supporting Black teachers, brown teachers, making the teaching staff look like the kids. The kids struggle sometimes understanding what they can be if they can't see that. And so we need to work to just make sure that the staff look like the kids, and we can do that. It's just a matter of will and reallocation of privilege again. We're also doing work around housing. 20-some% of Black folks live in Oakland now, maybe 23 or 24% of the population. 70% of the homeless folks are Black in Oakland. And again, that's just getting worse. So our work is around, OUSD is the 2nd largest landowner in the city. It has 8 properties that are totally vacant right now. Our push is to get them to use those properties for public uses. Those should be for foster kids, those for homeless families, job training, but those should be community uses, not sitting open and vacant as eyesores. 2 properties were surplus in this last round. The first time in the 30 years I've been here, they've surplus any property. So we are just keeping pushing on that, but it's always ongoing vigilance. And then next we have really college readiness. We have a Dump the D campaign that we'll send you guys. We have a policy. Basically, a D in OUSD, you can get that, and it's a passing grade. It doesn't count for A through G. Many of the charters in some of the district schools don't let a D be a passing grade. You either pass the class and it counts for college, or you don't pass the class. And the worst thing about getting a D is you can't go to summer school unless you figure it out yourself, because you passed the class. So we had a school where 60-some% of Black kids graduated. 12% were A through G eligible. And for a lot of families, that's a surprise to them. And even for the kids, it's a surprise when they say, I graduated, but I can't apply to UC or CSU. So basically, it's a policy: dump the D. If you cannot get a D unless your parent agrees that you get a D. And then we're doing some digital divide stuff as well, Internet for All. There are kids that you cannot get in the schoolhouse door right now unless you have internet access. Even $10 a month is too much for many families. So we fought with Comcast here. We got them to basically waive all their preconditions, all their debt stuff. We have a petition with 27,000 signatures with Arnie Duncan, former Ed Secretary, Jeb Bush on it, to the FCC, around just gearing that every kid who needs free internet gets it. You can't get in the schoolhouse door unless you have access. And right now that access is held by Comcast and folks like them. So that's really what we're working on right now. We try to listen to what the community asks us to do. And then we try to really just squabble around it and make that happen and do it in a way that policy drives it. And there's lasting solutions, and the community is involved all the way in making sure that stuff's actually implemented in the way that we want it. I'll share the petition right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dirk, for sharing more about the work that you have been leading at State of Black Education Oakland. It is so important to understand the data behind all what you're talking about to inform those policies. And I'm so excited to announce our final speaker of the evening, Anjali Turner, a rising senior at Piedmont High School.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anjali Turner. I have been in the Piedmont educational system since Piedmont Play School, which is a preschool located in Hampton Park. And in my 16 years of living here, I have seen what our community can do. I have seen the intense parental participation in education within our community and how our families invest their time and money to facilitate creating bright futures for their kids. I've seen our school put money towards new buildings and remodeling. I remember in first grade how my fellow classmates and I went to Emeryville while Havens was completely rebuilt from the ground up. Wildwood and Beach in subsequent years were extensively remodeled, and now we have a new STEAM building being built at the high school. I am fortunate that over the years we've been afforded resources like laptop computers, text, and notebooks. I'm fortunate that the quality of teaching is valued at Piedmont schools. I've been fortunate to have a bounty of facilities for a variety of extracurricular activities sponsored by the Piedmont Unified School System and Piedmont Recreation Department. And what I've seen is that we have the financial means to accomplish all these things. My cousin Elias lives only 10 miles away in Oakland. He attended Montclair Elementary, then Montera Middle School, and graduated from Skyline High School. I spoke to him about his experience in the Oakland Unified School System, and he informed me that Skyline has a low parental participation rate in all of its school-related functions. His mother went to parent-teacher association meetings, and she would often be the only parent in attendance. Parent advocacy in Piedmont is often the way in which our issues as students are voiced. It's hard to imagine negotiating the many issues I've encountered throughout my educational experience here in Piedmont without that parental engagement. He felt that access to greater resources would have enriched his experience throughout the Oakland Unified School System. These are the very resources we've been privileged to have here in Piedmont. organization is actively engaging to help extend that privilege into the Oakland schools and begin to break down physical, economic, and cultural boundaries that need not exist. I want to thank you all for being here, and your donations will make a tremendous impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anjali, for mentioning just a few of the specific resources such as parent engagement that can make a huge difference in experiences of students. And I also want to thank our other speakers, Harmony and Ang. It is so important to hear the voices of Piedmont Unified School District students and work towards understanding racial dynamics in Piedmont. We have to remember that there is still a lot of work to be done within Piedmont schools to be an actively anti-racist district. And thank you to the representatives of from Black Organizing Project, Planting Justice, and the State of Black Education Oakland for making this event possible. It is so inspiring to hear about your experiences as community leaders and specific work you're tackling with these 3 organizations. And after an hour, or a little less than an hour fundraising, we are so excited to reveal that we have collected $27,164. This is incredible. We totally surpassed our initial goal for the hour. As you can see, I'm very excited. Thank you so much to everyone who donated and everyone who's able to come today. We really appreciate your support for this cause. Our ultimate goal for this campaign is still $50,000. So if you haven't already donated, please consider making a donation. Any amount will help. As some of the organizations mentioned, even $100 can support their efforts in an impactful way, such as providing a living wage, as Rashid said. And also please share our website with others who couldn't make it today.
Hello, I just wanted to say that this was such an incredibly inspiring hour of action to support our Oakland community, and that it does not stop here. We want to ask that everyone who's able to attend today, please share our website with 3 other Piedmont families to help us reach our ultimate goal of $50,000. And like we said, our action can't stop here. On our website, you can find information for ways to stay engaged and continue taking action to support the Black Lives Matter movement. And tomorrow is Juneteenth, which marks a critical point for the Black freedom struggle and is a great opportunity to get more involved with virtual and in-person events happening all over the Bay Area. Before we close, we wanted to say a special thank you to a few people who helped make this event possible here on the screen, as well as a huge thank you to everyone who was able to attend today and make a contribution. We urge you to continue working toward justice and anti-racism in our community every day. Now we have some time for a couple questions, and I'm gonna give it to Maya.
Okay, everyone, last thing before we go into questions is we just want to say, Piedmont, look at the power that look at what we just did in 37 minutes. We raised $27K for these causes. I want everyone to think about that. Another thing I want to say is, as we've said a million times, the momentum is still going, and we want to reach out to other communities like Piedmont who might be interested in creating their own websites or initiatives like this. So if you live in another town similar to Piedmont, if you have relatives, if you know of anyone, please give them our information, and we want to talk to them about trying to spread this movement. Thank you all so much. So one of the first questions that we have, since it's still not 7, we can do the Q&A right now. One of the questions that we have, and I think everyone on this call would be really interested to hear it, is for all of our panelists, so from the 3 organizations, what can we as Piedmont do to help with the anti-racist movement? What are some action items we can do? What can we do as a community as like Piedmont?
Is that for anybody to answer?
Nakia, do you want to start it off since you went first?
I will step back and allow someone else to step
up. I'll say, so I grew up in a place like Piedmont, kind of. We were the first Black family in the suburbs of Albany, New York, where I grew up. And what I would have appreciated was me not being the only one stepping up at times. Like, as the sister mentioned, it was her and her friend who confronted these kids who said that. Again, people always hear things. And it's just like this sense of internally within the schools to be the one or to be the couple. Where I think there's power when allies actually step up and shut people down who say stupid things or say racist things. And I think it's really important to have allies who can do that, where it's not always on your shoulders to be the one to kind of deal with it. I think practically within Oakland, you know, there's always opportunities to volunteer. There's tons of just reading out, like, you know, 18% of Black elementary schoolers read on grade level. There's tons of opportunities to do early childhood reading with kids and things like that that don't take a ton of academic knowledge. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities with schools around this community building. There's a lot of opportunities to just be a humble part of the community and to serve it. And I'm happy to hook people up with some of those opportunities. But I also think it's really doing the work you're doing in Piedmont and making that a place where Black kids can thrive there too. And where you're recognizing the broader responsibility of the community that we all are within. Is being just part of the human race and the East Bay. And Piedmont is such a weird little island in the middle of it all that it's like, I don't know. That's my unscripted thoughts.
Okay, can anybody jump in here or is it?
Yes,
Okay,
please jump.
So nobody knows more about this question than I do, right? Like I've been a part of like Twitter, whatever they're called. I'm just learning about all this social media stuff. I've been a part of, like I just spoke on the Senate floor today over the phone to try to get voting rights for those who are formerly incarcerated, so that way we can have some input, because believe it or not, we care about our community. So, you know, watching all this, and I've just got done doing 18 years of incarceration. I've been out less than 4 months, and I felt powerless because I can't go out there and protest with my people who are trying to be heard. Right? I can't go out there and try to be a positive voice amongst those who are forgetting the message and are losing focus and are tearing up people's property and stuff like that and taking away from what the message is, right? So when I seen something like this and I heard about it at my organization, it was asked, do you guys want to, speak? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, I want to speak. This is my opportunity to do something. So whether you guys realize it or not, you guys are doing something and allowing me to do something as well, because by law, I'm powerless in this whole struggle. Like I can't go out there, because if I'm out there and some kid who doesn't really know what the message is, he's just doing what the cool kids are doing, and he decides to throw something at an officer and I'm seen on camera or sitting next to that person, I go back to incarceration. I'm an advocate for change. I don't have time for that, right? And so my suggestion is to continue doing what you guys are doing now and get involved with movements like this. This is amazing. I hope and pray that there's more of these type of movements going on that we're not aware of, because this is amazing. Like I can't even begin. This satisfies me, my spirit, and I'm sure it's going to satisfy a lot of other spirits who feel they need to get involved but don't know how, because your donations are going to make a difference.
Thank you so much, Rashid. That was so powerful and something that's so important for Piedmont to hear. Nakia, do you have anything to add, or any other speakers, something to put in?
Yeah, I'll add. Thank you, Dirk and Rashid. I would say also, I am a firm believer in education and study, right? And particularly self-study, particularly, political education, studying, our history, and studying ourselves and the role that we play in our larger society. So I would say, I think, sort of naturally, it is always easier to search externally about what we all can do. And there are many ways that we can change our societies and world externally. But I will also just uplift that we all have a responsibility to study, right? To study who we are, to study the things that are going on around us, the things that have happened, and to use that knowledge to then reform or reshape how it is we decide to show up in society. And so I would just offer, it sounds cliche, but the change really does start with each of us individually. And so, you know, whether it's for 1 hour a day, you know, try studying something new that you didn't know, you know, that is centering, you know, the Black Power movement, for example, or, you know, Black history, Black study, Black education, and use that as your tool. Education will always be all of our tools to change, to truly change and transform, you know, systems. And so, you know, just as these systems were built by people, it will take people to dismantle them. And so that is the hope I will lead us with, that power really does lie within us, and we are responsible. I think somebody said it earlier, but it is our duty to make sure that we are okay and that others around us are okay. So that's what I would just offer and leave with.
Thank you so much, Nakia. I hope we can all follow your words. So we have one last question, and this one is for the student speakers, is what can we do inside of Piedmont to make change? What can we do to make Piedmont a better place, Piedmont more anti-racist? Do you have any suggestions? What we want to hear from the young people? What do you guys think?
I'll go first. So, sorry. What I've seen a lot is that, oh, sorry, you can't see me. Hold on one second. Okay, perfect, sorry. So what I've seen is that students might not mean to sound like this or act like this, but they can make blind comments that are kind of on that border where you're saying, should I tell them that they're being racist? Should I not tell them that they're being racist? And so I think teaching, just making sure that those students are educated on what they're saying and know how that affects different people, and also organizing events that talk about diversity, that talk about racism. And like a diversity day, I know that the middle school has a diversity day, but Piedmont doesn't, Piedmont High School doesn't anymore. And I think that, I mean, that opened people's eyes a little bit more. And especially in high school, we're going to be going to college next year. And I think that it's really important for us to know how our comments affect students of color.
Thank you, Anjali. Anything else to add from our other two student speakers?
I can add on to what Anjali was saying. I really want to stick to the theme of educating yourself. I found out, I think last week, that there are a lot of parents in this Piedmont community who don't know that there are a lot of issues around race in the schools that their children are attending. And it's one thing to say, okay, there's race issues in the schools, like I could go to the principal, I could say this is not okay. But one thing that my family has instilled in me is we educate each other. My dad will read a book and I'll read a book, and I'll tell him what I learned and he'll tell me what he learned. You are never too old to learn. You are never too old to change your opinions. I think it's really important right now for Piedmont, if you want an anti-racist community, you need to acknowledge that you do have your own Black community. We might not even make up a full percentage of your city, but we are there. And like I said, our voices matter and they are strong, and listen to what we have to offer. And I would just, and I mean this with all the love in my heart, like listen, and don't just listen and let it enter out the other ear. Listen, accept, and figure out how you can make change. Maybe it's not doing something that a person of color couldn't do. Maybe it is, okay, when I do this, I am abusing my privilege, so I'm not going to do that. Like, we really have to think about yourself and what are you doing? Like, when I walk into Mulberry's and I go and I purchase something, or I purchase a few things, and it's, can you really afford this? Yes, I can really afford this. You got to think about the words you say to people. you really have to think about how you are affecting my day, how you are affecting the next person's day. Because it's not all about donating money. It's about the way you walk through the world. Because when you get pulled over by the police, they don't see that you're a liberal, that you're a Democrat, that you're a Republican. They see your appearance. And your appearance could either be save your life or not. And you really have to think about how you walk around the world and carry yourself and the way you communicate with others. That's my 2 cents for the question, and thank you.
I'm gonna definitely capitalize on what Harmony and Anjali said about, having a constant cycle of learning new information, whether that's, reading a book or watching a movie on Netflix. But I also am a huge advocate for, continuing the conversation in the classroom and at home. The fact that we're having these conversations in a very organized kind of dialogue and manner right now, it's great, but we want to continue that conversation at the dinner table, in the classroom. And I also know that there are a ton of student voice groups on campus. There's the diversity committee, which I know Anjali, Harmony, and I are all on. There's the Black Student Union. There's advocacy for Asian Americans. There's the Asian Student Union, the list goes on. And all of these clubs and, student voice groups could definitely benefit from support from parents, whether that be in the form of, a financial contribution or just parent support in general, because we know that PUSD and the Piedmont schools, parents, you have a huge influence on the way our schools are. And if there are students in here, which I know there are, join the diversity committee, join the Asian Student Union, learn how to be an advocate and an ally from the people who know how to do it best. That's my advice on, within the schools, that's how we start working on anti-racism.
Thank you, Ang. Thank you to all of our speakers, and thank you to everyone who came and donated and listened. Like all of our speakers said, this is one small movement within so many others. We are just 7 students who came together with this idea. Think of the power that everyone on this call has. If everyone in Piedmont did something like we did, where would the world be? Please continue all of your efforts. Come back to our website to look for resources. Come back to our website to look for other people who have donated. Find more out about these 3 organizations, and this cannot stop now. Thank you all so much. Everyone who came to this event will be added to an email list that we'll use to send out some updates, volunteer opportunities, etc. And we want to let everyone know that we got to 35K within 1 hour. We are absolutely blown away. Round of applause right now. Virtual round of applause to everyone who spoke, everyone who contributed, everyone who took time out of their day to be here. Thank you all so much. And this can't stop now. That's all we're gonna say. So thank you all. Goodbye.